Okay, I'm back. Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are returning, or welcome for the first time, if this is your first experience of me and this channel. Hello, my name is Andy. I am a trans woman, and on this channel I talk about stuff on my mind, and it's incredibly low effort. Don't expect any huge amounts of research. Don't expect fancy editing or anything like that. I'm just going to talk into the camera about a question. I'm hopefully not going to waffle and ramble on too much, but that is something that I do quite a lot. In my first two videos, I talked a bit about where I'm coming from, so why I'm trans. The second video talks a bit about what transitioning means to me. And in this video today, I'm going to talk about my transitioning goals. And actually, a little bit of editorial note here. This is the third time I've tried to record this video. I feel that in answering this question, I'm just sort of going off on little tangents, and I'm finding it quite difficult to stay on point. So hopefully this time, third time lucky, stay on track. Come on, Andy, you can do it. So why am I talking about this? Why am I going to talk about my transitioning goals? Because I think first of all, it's one of, if not the first question that I was asked by my therapist, and it's interesting. So I found that quite difficult to answer then, and now I've been sort of thinking about what I would say in this video, and even now I'm finding it quite challenging to talk about this, and I'm trying to wonder why that could be. First of all, I do like to waffle and ramble on, so maybe that's part of it, but I think also maybe, I don't know, I don't think my goals are too abstract or too unrealistic or too weird. It's just quite difficult to pin down, I suppose. It's tied up in so much stuff inside my head. It's physical, it's psychological, it's social, it's all of the things. It's literally all of the things. How can you condense that into a 10-minute video? Well, let's see. Let's try. Come on, Andy, you can do it this time. Let's keep it together. So, right. So, when I was first asked this question by the therapist, I found it quite difficult, as I said. And I think it's because, like, up to that point, when I'd thought about what my goals were, or what I'd considered to be like an ideal end point, it had all been couched in fantasy and dreams and unrealistic visions of, going to sleep wishing that I would wake up in a different body. And that's not realistic. That can't really be a goal, because I'm not going to do those things. I'm not going to suddenly magically wake up and, oh, look at me, I'm in the body of a 22-year-old woman. How amazing. That's not going to happen. So I can't see that as a goal, because that's not something that's achievable. There are things physically which are just not going to happen with the best will and intentions, with the best diet, with the best exercise, with the best medication and keeping a close eye on my levels and whatnot. I'm going to remain probably 6 foot plus. I'm going to keep most of these physical features unless I undergo a huge amount of surgery, which I'm not entirely sure is something I'm interested in. So what are my goals? Let's unpack what I said earlier when I said that it was everything. So let's start with the physical. And I think that's probably the most obvious. Physically, I would like to look more feminine. I would like to look entirely feminine. So what does that mean? That means having a more feminine body. I want to have breasts, and I'm developing them. It's astonishing. It's amazing that my body is changing in this way already. I want to have a feminine shape. I want to have more feminine features in my face. I got to get rid of this goddamn stubble. These are all physical things that I want to have. But why is this important? And in the other videos, I've talked a little bit about that kind of disassociation between who I see myself internally and how I perceive myself, or how I see myself in a reflection, or how I see myself in the world as I sort of go around. And there's been times where I've been in a changing room in a shop, and I've seen the full body mirror, and it's just like, oh, it's devastated me. It's just looking at myself in a mirror. It's not fun. Sometimes it's fine, but sometimes there's just a little switch that just triggers. And what I really would love is to just be able to look at myself and think, oh, you look all right. you it's fine. Not all the time. I think I would be quite lucky if I was able to look in a mirror every day, all day, and be like, God damn it, I'm gorgeous. That's not going to happen, but I have already started finding myself sort of looking in the mirror and thinking, oh, I can see myself getting closer. Even after 3 months, my skin is softer. Like I believe the hairs on my hand, at least, are getting thinner, and I can see that perhaps reflected elsewhere. I shaved off the beard that I used to have, so I can see bit by bit I'm getting closer and closer and closer. So that's great. That's me on the journey to that goal. The second part is psychological, and again, it's bound up with that physical. It's bound up with how I present myself physically. Um, and I think there's a little bit more to it than that, though. It's not just about physicality, because I can say with absolute honesty, practically the first time I took HRT, the first time I took the testosterone blocker, the first time I applied the patch to my like hip, um, something changed. Something changed inside my head. I mean, part of it is probably just a kind of a relief, just joy, a euphoria that I've started on this part of my journey, that I've allowed myself to get involved in this. But I do also wonder, was there something, some part of my brain that was kind of craving and missing these hormones? I don't know. It's impossible to say. I know a lot of trans people, they say they had this kind of like craving, and I've spoken to a couple of people and talked a little bit about how it was almost like I was like a cactus in the desert, all dried up, and then the moment I received this injection of estrogen, like whoop, it was like I'd received water for the first time. I don't know, but I can say without question I am calmer, I'm more positive, I'm more sociable, I'm more confident, I sleep better, I feel better prepared for like stress and like difficult times, I feel more resilient. And that's not to say that I was never those things, but I feel more of those things. Like I had a bit of a difficult couple of weeks, and if that had happened beforehand, I would have spiraled into like a very dark place. But now it's like, okay, so I have to process this. It still takes me a bit of time to kind of process this situation and to kind of think about the implications. And, I still lose a bit of sleep over that. But what I'm not doing is then allowing that to kind of knock other aspects of my life, and to then spiral into weeks or even a couple of months of just negativity and just a complete withdrawal from the world around me. So in that sense, I can feel that I'm a lot more in a much more positive and a much more pleasant place, comfortable place. So that's physical, that's psychological, and social. I think this is probably going to be the hardest one to accomplish, because I would love to be seen and treated as, and just to experience life as a woman in the world without any kind of stigma, without any kind of weirdness associated with being a trans woman. I just want to be a woman. That's how I want people to see me. And whereas with the physical and with the psychological, I've already started to see some movement, I've seen some progress, I've seen some improvements. I don't know when the social thing is going to start applying. I've already come out to quite a few people. I've started to come out of work. I've changed the pronouns in my work signature, but only to any and all, not to she and her, not yet. So I'm not expecting people to do anything for me yet. Well, that's a weird way of putting it as well. Expecting people to do something for me, like being treated in the way that I want to be treated in is like a favor rather than just a way of treating me as if it's normal. Because it shouldn't be a favor. It shouldn't be, well, I'm going to give you this, this award or whatever. It should just be something that somebody does. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's not happening yet. I don't know. It's very weird because I'm out to several people, and even when I'm in a group with people who I'm out to, they will still refer to me as he, which feels weird. And I haven't pulled them up on it yet because I haven't come out to everybody. I haven't done things like officially change my pronouns, whatever. But at some point, I suppose I'll have to be, asking people, I'm sorry, but can you try to do this? Yeah, we'll see. It's only been a few months since I've been on HRT. It's only been a couple of months since I've come out to several of these people. So I'm being fairly realistic about this. I don't expect huge changes here. Little bits here and there. But at the same time, I don't want them to treat me much differently to when I was before, because I'm still essentially the same person. I'm still the person that they know and work with and hopefully respect and like. So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. That's interesting. But the first two, I've seen progress, so that's great. Yeah, so those are my goals. It's basically the whole thing. It's everything. It's complicated, but I'm optimistic. I feel really optimistic that I'm going to be able to get to that point. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be next month. It probably isn't even going to be within this year, to be honest with you. When I started off HRT, I gave myself a 12-month timeline. I started in March the 1st, I think, or around about then. And so that means March the 1st-ish, 2025. By then, the intention was that I would be out socially, completely. I would be presenting feminine as much as I can, right? Hopefully having had laser therapy and other things. That would be 1 year on hormones. And of course, I don't know exactly how that's going to affect me. I don't know the extent to which those changes will have happened. A lot of people report the changes you don't really see until after a year or 2 years of therapy. So, I'm fairly realistic, but at the same time, the changes that I've seen have been amazing. Just amazing. It's great. So, yeah. Maybe I'll do a recap video in about a year's time or around the start of March, and I'll come back to this and I'll rewatch this and I'll cringe at how awful the video is and whatever, but maybe I'll see, how far along have I come to accomplishing those goals? How far along, how feminine am I looking? How is my psychological stuff these days? How am I doing socially? Are people consistently referring to me as she? We'll see. We'll see. Come back to me in 8 months and I'll do that video and I'll let you know how it goes. Until then, thank you very much for sticking around. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't seen the other ones, please feel free to check them out. If you've got anything to say, drop a comment in the comments box below. And I hope to see you again sometime soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.